How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
Hello, everybody. As Alex Caceres said, you're listening to Story of the Fight. I'm Romero. That's my boy Will there. And in case this is your first time ever joining us, Story of the Fight, where we talk anything and everything MMA related. Sometimes boxing, sometimes anything that might be on our mind, but mainly MMA.
Mostly MMA.
Mostly MMA, yeah. And if you happen to like any of our content, please like, subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. I mean, people might not want to see us, Will. They might want to listen to us.
That's true.
But they might not want to look at us.
When we first started, when we were just on YouTube, my buddy was like, "You guys on Spotify?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, let me know when you get on Spotify." I was like,
I actually did that to Rich the Casual because he has an NBA podcast. And he was like, listen to my podcast. I was like, are you on Apple Podcasts? He's like, no. I was like, all right, well, let me know when you do. So I know the feeling. But we're available on social media as well, Will?
Yeah, at Story of the Fight on Instagram and Twitter. And then we have a group chat on Facebook called Story of the Fight Chat.
Yep, and we have all of our episodes, too, with interviews on fighters, trainers, that you could find. Go back, check them out. They're a lot of fun.
They're fun.
Man, we didn't have any fights this weekend, though, Will.
Not in the UFC.
At least no UFC. No UFC. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So Rory McDonald fought, but I don't want to talk about it because that shit
you're heartbroken.
It's a little depressing. So we figured let's just
hey, all good things must come to an end.
Yeah, I know. I mean, unfortunately, it kind of seems like it ended a while ago for him, but
yeah,
I love the guy. I mean, he'll be forever cemented in like the archives of like greatest fights of all time. But yeah, so we figured no UFC card. So let's just kind of make a list of all the big news that came out this week and just kind of go through all that.
And there has been a lot.
There's been a lot. Every week there's always a ton of news in MMA, the MMA world.
Gives us a lot to talk about. All right, the first thing we can cover, I guess, is there's some beef out there, Will. There's some beef between your boy Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier.
I should have worn my Nate Diaz shirt.
You should represent, dude.
I know.
I mean, all right. So we have this back and forth where when were they supposed to fight, by the way? Do you remember?
They were supposed to fight a long time ago. I don't remember how long. It was like years ago.
And what was it after, like? Did Nate get hurt? Dustin got hurt?
No, Dustin got hurt.
Something
about his rib or something like that. He couldn't get medically cleared. Or he had to pull out. He got injured. And Nate was like, all right, cool. That's a win then.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they've started up again. Who was it that started this beef recently? Was it Dustin? Was it Nate? Looked like Dustin's one that called him out, kind of.
He said like Nathan ? Something, right? The old Darren Till. When Darren Till was trying to get a Robert Whittaker fight, he'd always just be like, Rob?
That's what it was, right? It said just Nathan ? So Nathan says, boss the fuck up and quit being a little bitch. I do what I want. You do what you're told.
Well, that's the last thing that he said.
Oh, okay.
That was the end of it.
Dustin, they're lying and you're getting played. I knew you were a bitch.
Well, so Dustin says Nathan, right? So obviously there's something maybe he wants to angle towards that fight. Maybe there's some behind the scenes stuff. Nate says, I knew you as a pussy bitch. That's 2-0. Basically saying that they were trying to work out the fight and Dustin didn't take it. Right?
Yeah.
Then Dustin saying they're lying and you're getting played. Because he's probably like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. The UFC is probably just pulling some bullshit over you saying that Dustin doesn't want it or Dustin reneged or something like that. And so Nate's like, oh, you're a bitch. You pulled out. Could just be the UFC being an asshole and telling one side one thing and the other side another. And
that's the UFC really wanting Dustin to fight for the title.
Yeah, probably.
You know?
Probably. Yeah.
And I mean, I could see both sides here. I could see the UFC saying like, hey, man, like you're the number one contender. You've been the number one contender for a minute now. We need to see you fight for this title. But I could
You're
also
already
see
supposed to fight Oliveira the first time, and it didn't happen.
But I could also see Dustin, you know, at a certain point in his career, probably thinking, how much does that title really mean to me right now? And maybe I just want another big payday.
I think it's not even just how much does it mean to me. I think it's more of this is a fight. I'm a massive Nate Diaz fan. It's a very winnable fight. At this point of their careers, it's a very winnable fight for Dustin. And he can say, I mean, it's the same thing with the Conor rematch, the third one. He's saying, because they're supposed to do the vacant belt, Dustin versus Oliveira. Dustin says, give that to Chandler. Let Chandler fight Oliveira. I want to fight Conor again because this is a very winnable fight. I'm going to make a shit ton of money. When I beat Conor, that title's not going anywhere. If I beat Conor, I'm just going to fight for the belt after that, after I make all my money. Then this starts kind of rising up, and it's probably the same line of thinking from Dustin's side. I think it's a tougher fight than Conor, but I think
still winnable.
He's probably thinking, very winnable fight, right? If it happens at 170, because neither of them want to cut weight, and it'll be a lightweight fight at 170, or if they fight at 155. I think Nate, when he gets in real good shape for 155, I think that's where he can still beat a lot of people, in my opinion. I know he's older in the fight game and he's taking a lot of damage, all that shit, but that's where I think his skill set really comes into play. But from Dustin's mindset, he's probably thinking, this is a winnable fight for me. If I win this, it's going to make me a bunch of money because everyone's going to want to watch Nate Diaz. Then I'll go fight for the belt. Belt's not going anywhere. And as long as he doesn't lose, he's not losing that number one ranking, you know?
And think about the popularity that Dustin has gained from fighting McGregor, especially for the newer fans. And think about the popularity that's going to continue to grow for Dustin, fighting a Nate Diaz and possibly beating a Nate Diaz. So he will now be able to fight for the belt after beating McGregor twice, beating a Nate Diaz. Popularity is a lot higher. You might be able to get a little more money that way going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and let's be real, this is probably a much better fight. Dustin versus Nate, when they first announced it back in the day, I was like, oh, shit. Because that was when Nate was like, I'm trying to stay active. I'm trying to be on this roll, and was like winning fights again. And it was, fuck, I wish it happened.
Hey, let me play this out for you, though. Let me play this out for you. Say Dustin fights Nate.
Yeah.
5-round fight, right? It's fifth round, beginning of the fifth round. Nate, a la Nate, bleeding all over his face, catches Dustin with a big right, drops Dustin, catches him in a guillotine or something, wins. Now we have possibly Nate Diaz fighting for the title.
Dude, honestly, Nate Diaz versus the Bronx is such a cool fucking fight.
And that's the thing we've all said.
Yeah.
We love Dustin.
Yeah.
But we also are big Nate Diaz fans. And that would be insane.
It would be crazy. And I mean, if you beat Dustin, how can anybody, you might be able to say, well, he wasn't in the rankings and he didn't rise up through them and win a bunch of fights. No.
They beat the number one contender.
If you beat Dustin, you're fighting for the belt.
Let's be real.
Have to.
Dustin should probably have the belt right now.
Yeah. No disrespect to Oliveira. Dustin, I think in a lot of people's opinion, is probably like the uncrowned champ right now.
And
I think
that's how Dustin feels right now too.
Yeah.
You know, I think he feels like the uncrowned champ. And I think he said it in a few interviews before that he's the uncrowned champ. And, you know, that's probably why he's like, you know what? Like you said, the belt will always be there. I'm the uncrowned champ right now. Let me just fucking make some money.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
Why not? By the way, Oliveira, you've seen the messages going back and forth when somebody mentions the Cowboy versus Oliveira fight, and somebody is like, "Oh, it was a early stoppage," and Oliveira's reply, "No, he kicked my ass."
Yeah, he said early stoppage. No, he kicked my ass. And then someone said, "It's okay, Charlino. You had too much wine the night before." And then he said, "LOL, I don't drink. I just faced a better fighter than me that night."
Damn, man.
Yeah.
Hey, they don't make him like that anymore, you know?
He's a champion, man. He's a champion.
Yeah. So hard not to like that guy, too.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the Nate Dustin beef?
No, not really.
Not really. Oh, is that O'Malley on your shirt? Sean Sugar Show? Is that what it is?
It's a sugar show right there.
Dude, well, that's a perfect segue.
I just had to stretch.
Perfect timing. So O'Malley just recently went on record saying that he doesn't want to fight ranked opponents.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
And what sucks is the headline of the article I fucking hate. It's done for clicks. Yeah. It's done for clicks, right? You look at the article and it's Sean O'Malley admits he doesn't want ranked opponents. It's like, because there's a lot of O'Malley haters that see that and they're like, see, he just wants to fight cans the whole time. But they're not actually looking at what he's saying, right? What he's saying is, he says it in the interview, he says, I was supposed to fight Louis Smolka, right? A much lower fight. He said, if on my contract right now, if I fought Louis Smolka or if I fought Piotr Jan, I would get paid the same money. He's making the same money. And he's like, why wouldn't I want to fight out my contract if I'm going to fight these killers and get paid the same? And it makes sense, right? Like, it's one of those things that, like, from the business side, from the UFC, I don't know, you signed a contract for this amount of fights at this pay. That's what you're going to get paid until you fight out that contract. But when you just think of it logically, obviously, if I take a bigger fight, I should make more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
if you're going to headline, even if you're going to headline a fight night,
yeah,
you probably need more money. Deserve more money. Now, at the same time, let me say I'm Uncle Dana.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the chair. And I think to myself, okay, well then your contract's over. You've decided not to fight any ranked opponents. I don't want to say you're fighting cans because, I mean, they're in the UFC. You know, so they're good fighters. You have to be pretty good to make it to the UFC. But you haven't shown me anything outside of those opponents.
Yeah.
Fight a ranked opponent, beat a ranked opponent. And now, if I'm the UFC, I'm like, yeah, I want to resign this guy. And you know what? I will give you more money because I want to keep you around.
Yeah, because you're going to be fighting at the top.
Yes.
But also, but Sean's not saying he's not going to fight ranked opponents. He's just talking about, hey, pay me what I'm worth. Because, I mean, he called out Rob Font, right? And he said he called out a bunch of fighters all at the top. And when people actually interviewed him after the fact and asked him who he wants and stuff like that, he'd go through and he was like, well, yeah, Dominic Cruz isn't going to take the fight. He goes through the list and says these fights aren't going to happen. But he was like, but Rob Font, I think, why wouldn't he want to take that fight? Like, I'm a big name. Like, if he beats me, people will pay attention to him now. And like, Chito Vera beat me and then fought Jose Aldo. So clearly the rankings don't matter. So like, I think that's a fight that we can get. That's what he was saying. So he's actively trying to fight not just a ranked opponent, but someone who, in my opinion, is very close to the number one contender. So he's not saying I'm not going to fight an unranked or a ranked opponent. He's just saying I don't want to for what I'm paid. But he's not saying I'm not going to, because that leads into the next thing, is that the UFC is working on scheduling him versus Frankie Edgar. So it's not like he's saying I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? There it is. So, and that's a great fight, right? It's a great fight for both of them.
I was going to say for who?
Yeah, I think for both of them. It's a very winnable fight for Frankie, and it's a very provable moment for O'Malley at a point in Frankie Edgar's career where this might be the time you can, and I hate to say this because I love Frankie Edgar, but this might be the time where you can take a Frankie Edgar fight, beat him, and leapfrog off of him, right? It sucks saying that because I love Frankie Edgar so much, but let's be honest, he's not who he was when he was the lightweight champ.
I get it, but he's still Frankie Edgar, you know? And now,
but that's what I mean. If you
let me ask you,
him, that still means something.
Who's a better matchup for Sugar Show? Is it Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Moraes, Frankie Edgar? Who would you say is the best matchup for him?
Out of those three, Cody Garbrandt.
Cody Garbrandt. I'd agree. And then from there?
Because Frankie's Moraes probably.
So that's exactly how I have it in my head.
Yeah.
Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Moraes, then Frankie Edgar. I think that in that little area right there of 6, 7, 8, Edgar is the worst matchup for O'Malley right now.
he's the potential worst matchup, I think, because Frankie still striking wise is very traditional, very, very traditional, really good, but super traditional. And that's the type of fighter that someone like O'Malley can kind of tee off on and like have a highlight reel finish on, similar to the way Sandhagen beat Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar has tendencies because he's so structured and so disciplined in his style that someone like O'Malley can kind of like be the unorthodox, like pick apart and do all this crazy shit around that because it's such a standard style that Frankie has. And I mean that with no disrespect because his boxing and footwork is beautiful, but that's the type of platform that O'Malley can show off on. What Frankie brings to the table, though, is his insane fight IQ and knowing when to go for a takedown and his ability to take down and dominate on top. That's what makes him dangerous, more dangerous than the other two guys you mentioned. Garbrandt obviously has great wrestling, but if you hit Garbrandt, he wants to hit back. Frankie Edgar has the fight IQ to, when he gets rocked, adjust his game plan and transition to the ground. That's where I think we see O'Malley get lost.
Okay. Now, for me, I see this as kind of like as a big fuck you from the UFC since he's been to O'Malley. Since he's been talking about fighter pay, and he says, "Hey, I don't want to fight ranked opponents." And I think they're like, "Okay, well, show us a reason. Beat somebody in the top 15. Show us a reason for us to pay you more." But you know what? That person in the top 15 is going to be a shitty matchup for you. Here's Frankie Edgar.
It's going to be tough, man.
It's going to be a tough one.
But I mean, trial by fire, right? If you want to talk like O'Malley talks and be very cocky and sure of your talent, all right, take on Frankie Edgar then.
Yeah, and the thing with O'Malley is that he has fought somebody in the top 15. You know what happened? He lost. Yeah, it's his only loss. I mean, don't tell him that because he says he's still undefeated. Yeah, but he lost.
But that, I think this fight makes so much sense because it's exactly that, like what you just said. It's like, all right, dude, then step up, beat Frankie Edgar. If you beat Frankie Edgar, you can probably renegotiate your contract, especially if he does it with style. Because let's be real, if he does it with style, the UFC is listening to what he has to say because they want that, right? They want O'Malley to be the superstar. You know what I mean? An unranked fighter got an exclusive Reebok limited edition shirt in his like second UFC fight. They
just don't want to pay.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a draw, right? Yeah, at least not yet.
But if he beats Frankie Edgar, now he's not asking. Now he's demanding, right? You beat Frankie Edgar.
It's a win-win for the UFC. The UFC puts themselves in a position so often to have a win-win. So again, if he beats Frankie Edgar, boom, catapult. Yeah. Here's another draw, right? We could sell him even more. If he loses to Frankie Edgar, hey, dude, you keep on asking for more money. You fought two people in the top 15, and you've lost both times.
You lost both of them.
Sorry, bro. Like you can have your Twitch following as much as you want, but when it comes to fighting, like you've lost twice to people in the top 15, so I can't pay you top 15 money.
Yeah, and as eccentric and like arrogant and cocky as O'Malley comes off, I do think he understands. He understands he knows the game, and I don't think he would be like. I don't think he would keep talking like this if that happened. I think he understands. He also said that because Chael's like a mentor to him. He
to Sean O'Malley?
Yeah, they talk a lot. And he said that Chael told him, for as long as you can, fight the worst guys at the highest part of the card that you can. That should be your goal your entire career. Fight the worst guys as high as you can. Makes sense. I mean, this isn't a career, it's an opportunity, in the words of Dana. If I'm in the UFC, I'm trying to take the easiest fights for the most money and the highest profile possible. Why wouldn't you? Why would I go in there on a I'm not saying this is Sean's contract, but you signed me, right? It's like off the Contender Series. I'm on a 10K show, 10K win contract for 5 fights. And I'm starting the first 3 guys. And I'm like, I'm great on the mic and they want to see me at the top. I'm like, fuck that, dude. Pay me. You know what I mean? Pay me.
Yeah.
I'm clearly worth something. So it's interesting. I didn't
We'll see
expect
if
it.
they finalize that because I also know he doesn't want to fight in New York because of the taxes and all this other stuff in New York. So
A lot of people don't want to fight in New York. A lot
Yeah.
of fighters are saying, "Fuck New York. I don't want to go there."
wow,
Yeah,
I
Gaethje
mean-
and Chandler, they don't want to do it in New York. Both of them.
somebody will get stuck over there,
I know.
and it's probably gonna
Every
be
time they
O'Malley.
go to New York, there's controversy with the way the event goes through. The athletic commission there is fucking awful.
Hey, it gives us something to talk about, though.
I know. It's good for us, I guess. Fuck.
All right, another topic here: UFC 267 on ESPN Plus. Dude,
Not a pay-per-view. Whoa, look at that. Not a pay-per-view.
how awesome is that? So here it is from Ariel Helwani.
That was the comment. God damn it.
What?
I forgot when I cropped that I left that comment in.
Oh, on the bottom. Okay, so it says UFC officially announces that UFC 267 will happen in Abu Dhabi on October 30th. That's the non-pay-per-view card headlined by Blachowicz and Teixeira and Sterling versus Petr Yan 2. It will air in the afternoon. Oh man, we have to get that day off. In the US on ESPN Plus. And then yes, you forgot to crop out the comment on the bottom that says Aljo is absolutely fine.
S the casual.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah,
Dude,
it's
that's huge though.
It's massive. That is massive.
All right, so let me
So-
read off the 267 card to you real quick, Will. You ready?
Yeah. Mhm.
Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. George is going to be so happy to see Glover Teixeira fight for the title, by the way, if he makes it
I
all the
know.
way.
I know. Shout out
Aljamain
George.
Sterling versus Petr Yan.
Mhm.
Amanda Ribas versus Virna Jandiroba.
That's a
Jandiroba coming
great
off a
fight, dude.
few good fights, man.
That's a
Jandiroba's the real
great
deal.
fight.
How about Islam Makhachev versus Rafael Dos Anjos?
Yeah, massive
Hey,
fight.
you know what?
Dos
Main
Anjos
card's not
get an
over
easy
yet.
Fight? Can Dos
Nah.
Anjos get an easy fight? God
Nah.
damn, man. That guy's had a murderer's row.
Hey, you know what? He also asked for them, though.
Yeah.
Props to him.
Yeah.
How about Alexander Volkov versus Marcin Tybura?
Yeah, that's a great one.
Dude, that's the main card. Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. Let's check out the prelims. Li Jingliang?
Li Jingling.
Li Jingliang? Hamzat Chimaev? Dude, let's see. Walt Harris is on there. Taito Ivasa? Our boy Taito Ivasa?
Welcome to the church, HLB Comer. Thank you.
Oh, what up?
Coleslaw fucking streaming in church. That might catch on.
Hey, by the way, shout out to HLBK Omer for all the feedback last week, man. We did a lot with it, so appreciate it.
Yeah, it really goes a long way. Thank you.
And then, dude, Tahugov to start off the card.
Tahugov
This
versus
card
Pedro.
is stacked. It's
didn't
insane,
bring
and it's
up-
free.
Dude, Shamil Gamzatov versus Mikhail
Yeah, and you know why I didn't bring it up?
Oleksiejczuk. That's all you have to say. That dude's a fucking savage.
You know why I didn't bring it up? Because I can't pronounce either of those names, Will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was going to absolutely
Yeah.
butcher both of them. But, dude, I mean, the card's just
But yeah.
absolutely stacked. Thank you, Uncle Dana, for making this a
Yeah.
free card. Now,
Do you remember the last free pay-per-view?
no, I don't.
UFC 120.
Wow.
UFC 120. Michael Bisping versus Akiyama.
Wow. Akiyama?
Yeah, Sexyama.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Co-mained by Dan Hardy versus Carlos Condit. Condit knocked out Dan Hardy.
Wow. Oh, that's the that's the
The
highlight they
crazy
kept
one,
on
dude.
showing when Dan
Every
Hardy
time.
was announcing. And he's
Yeah.
like, hey, man, it's kind of tough to see those
Yeah, maybe don't
highlights.
show that 20 times while I'm trying to hype up Carlos Condit for knocking myself out.
That is so awesome. But
Yeah.
that's dude, I'm so excited. Now, to get to the UFC 267, we have to get past 266 first.
Yeah,
Volkanovski versus Ortega.
Ortega. We've both been Ortega fans forever.
Forever. Ever.
I was watching Ortega in the Gracie. I don't remember what they were called, but they were like vlogs that Henry Gracie was doing for the Gracie Academy back in the day.
It wasn't like the Gracie breakdown. I think it was too early for that.
It was before the Gracie breakdown. He was like 17 or 18 years old, and like every once in a while he would do the vlog, and it was hilarious because he was like super awkward on camera.
All
and
shy.
like Henry would just be like laughing behind the camera. Dude, it was so good. It was like it was awesome. But so seeing him come from that, and I watched his first. I watched his amateur fights. I watched his first professional fights. I've watched every single one of his fights. so seeing him at this level now is cool for me. Did you see?
But I think this is his best shot at getting the title. I really do.
Volkanovski, yeah.
Versus Volkanovski.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was in
Unfortunately,
our 2021 predictions video where I said Ortega could beat Volkanovski, but then Holloway.
Max Holloway's just waiting in the wings like a fucking demon.
Yeah, dude. For sure.
Fuck, dude.
Right now, Holloway.
Ortega gets the belt and is just constantly looking over his shoulder for Holloway.
It's Holloway
on a skateboard.
Holloway with the belt, like Coker is with retired UFC fighters.
Yeah.
Like he's just waiting off to the side, waiting for that one move.
Dude, yeah. But did you see?
Fantastic.
Speaking of Ortega Volkanovski on Ultimate Fighter, they did the coaches challenge, I think last week. And you know how they'll be like, okay, winner gets 10 grand, and then all their fighters on their team gets 1,500 or something like that, right? Yeah. Where they'll do like something like BJ Penn versus Jens Pohl, where they did like ping pong, and like they always do like a coach challenge like
McGregor
that.
and Uriah Faber did that watermelon out of the helicopter.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah. So this one, I don't remember I didn't see the challenge, but Ortega wins. Spoilers. And
damn, bro, I haven't seen that episode yet.
So his whole team gets 1,500, right? Each of them. Then he gets 10 grand. He goes over to Dana and he's like, Dana, can I get 2 grand more? And Dana looks at him. He's like, what? He's like, can I just get 2 grand more? Like, please? And Dana's like looking around and he's just like, okay. And he's like, all right, cool. He's like, all right, cool. So then my 10 grand plus that 2 grand, that 1,200 or that 12 grand, split it between Volkanovski's team. They all get 1,500 also, and just gave them all the money.
Wait, what?
So he took his 10 grand that he won,
and he gave it all to Volkanovski's fighters.
Yeah. He needed 2 grand more so that he could make it 1,500 for each of them also. And
he didn't tell Dana what it was for.
I don't know if there was behind the scenes if Dana knew, but he looked like when he's like, can I get 2 grand more? You see Dana's face, and it looked like what's the gif of Zach Galifianakis with all the math equations and shit. Dana's like what? And it was kind of like, okay, let's.
What is that going to do to our budget?
Yeah,
it's going to kill my budget, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
but yeah, super cool.
All the fighters then ended up getting some cash.
They all got $1,500. Yeah,
dude, how pumped must that team have been?
I know. And as Volkanovski's probably like, dude, what the fuck? Make me look like an asshole.
I'm an asshole now.
Yeah. My whole team wishes they were on your team now. But he said in the interview after, he's like, I'm a guy that if I have a dime, you have a nickel. And I was like, damn.
That's a badass, cool phrase. Man. That's cool badass. Phrase. I like that. Well, just taking a look at the card real quick. Volkanovski versus Ortega. Valentina Shevchenko faces the next sacrificial lamb in Lauren Murphy.
Jessica Andrade. Sacrificial lamb before, right?
I think she has, yeah. Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo. Hey, Calvillo just kind of like on this downward slope, dropped off. Bummer. Curtis Blades versus Jairzinho Rosenstruck. Now that's a fight too.
Yep.
I think it goes very similar to how the Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades fight went.
I think the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, this is the one though. Oh, Robbie Lawler versus Nick Diaz. The return of Nick Diaz, man. We've all been waiting for so long. You have Moraes versus Merab. Fiorot versus Silva. Pretty sure Fiorot is that one French girl that's just been beating the crap out of girls as of late. I just can't remember the exact person she fought last time, but this is another stacked card.
Yeah, it's really good.
Should be a lot of fun. All right.
Yeah. Shout out HLB Comer. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Don't forget there was one more big pay-per-view before that.
Tyron's the most important fight of his career. Dude, that might be the most important fight in the history of mixed martial arts. And it's not even an MMA fight, but we'll cover that a little bit later. It's actually on our list.
Yeah.
Next one, UFC leaning on Zhang Weili versus Thug Rose. Will, how do you feel about this one?
I'm mad about it. I'm so mad about it. It's not the rematch. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Not like whatsoever. I mean, it's clearly all it is Dana wanting to continue to have a Chinese champ, and he's like, let's just do a rematch. Maybe she can win again because, they'll probably do a trilogy if she wins. But if you watch that fight again, and I remember seeing it, live, when Dana is standing back there while they're announcing the fight, he looks like he shit his
Devastated?
pants. He's literally standing there like, fuck, dude, like, what are we going to do with China now? Like,
Yeah.
Zhang Weili is a massive star in China. Massive.
Is she?
They were like, the way they well, it's easy. She might not be a massive star as far as how
Is she
far
like
you can go.
Conor McGregor in Ireland.
Numbers wise,
Zhang is
more.
in China. Really? Wow.
The problem is like per capita, right? So like,
Well,
she
yeah.
technically reaches more fans in China, but the percentage of the population that she reaches probably not, right? She's not like capped at how big she can be in China.
From a
by
pure
any
numbers
means.
aspect, because of their population, though, she's going to pull in more money.
Yeah.
I
Like,
see what you're saying.
so Dana wants Zhang Weili to be the champ because that's their ticket. They make a shit ton of money with her as the champ. So, of course, they're going to try to make this happen, which is dog shit because
Whoa.
clearly Carla Esparza is the number one contender. Do I think Carla
Yeah.
Esparza beats Thug Rose? No, I don't. But for the purity of the sport, you have to do that fight. That's what you have to do with her win streak, with who she just beat. That's who you have to have. That's the number one contender. Zhang Weili getting knocked out in the first round in her second title defense. No.
I mean,
Listen.
Carlos
I would rather watch Rose versus Zhang Weili.
Me too.
From a fight standpoint, of course, that's what I would rather watch.
From an entertainment standpoint, I would
Yeah.
rather watch Thug Rose versus Zhang Weili rematch.
100%.
I'd rather watch Thug Rose fight Joanna again,
Mhm.
but we're not going to see that happen.
No.
Carlos Esparza, I've gone on record before saying I'm not the biggest fan. She's not a very exciting fighter, but her
I'll be
last
honest,
fight,
I don't like her fights.
the ground and pound,
Yeah,
was legit,
that was
man.
cool.
If she brings that every single fight, she could be like a little mini female Khabib, like
And
just a lot
let's not
smaller.
forget- Yeah, let's not forget that she has a win over Rose.
She does.
Right? So they can
She does.
market this fight, at least for the U.S. audience, very well. The problem is they
Dana's
don't
mind,
want to
though.
market it for the UFC, for the U.S. market.
Dana's
It's
probably
for the China
thinking
market.
in his head, like, hey, Rose, if you need to take extra time, take extra time. Right now, what we're going to do is going to be Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. And
Yeah.
guaranteed Chinese champ
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah,
And then we'll go
exactly.
from there. We'll figure it out. No, but,
But it sucks
I mean,
because this is what, if this was a sport and it's getting less and less a sport, it sucks. It really does, because you have a win streak like Carla Esparza, and then you beat Yan Xiaonan like the way she did. She won with a fucking statement, man. That's a title shot. And
best fight I had seen from
Zhang
Carlos
Weili-
Esparza ever.
ever. That was her
Best performance.
Yeah. And it sucks because it's so easy. It's always so easy on the outside for the fights that make sense. But unfortunately, that's not what makes money. So they don't go with that. But you do Zhang Weili versus Joanna. You do Thug Rose versus Carla Esparza. Mackenzie Dern is fighting Rodriguez, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Marina
all you
Rodriguez.
need. That's all you need to know. The winner of that fights the winner of Joanna versus Zhang Weili. Thug Rose defends it against Carla Esparza, and then whoever wins those matchups, she fights the next one. I don't know why the UFC. Well, I do. I wish the UFC would value the championship and actually have champs defend against number one contenders. They want to skip all the steps to get stars, when we're not going to get a GSP, an Anderson Silva, a John Jones ever again, because they don't allow champions to defend their fucking belt. It's
If you're
ridiculous.
saying, though, let's go based off who the number one contender is, wouldn't that be Zhang Weili?
No, she might be ranked number one.
Well,
but
that's
she
what I'm
got
saying.
knocked out. But the rankings are not. They also are a problem. Carla Esparza should be number one. The champ losing. I hate that a champ is always one win away. When the champ loses, they either get an immediate rematch when they don't deserve it. She got knocked out with a head kick in the first round. Get the fuck out of here. Jose Aldo didn't get a rematch. Then they're one fight away from, if they don't get the immediate rematch, they're one fight away from a title shot again. Why does the number one contender, when they take a belt, why do they have to beat the champ twice? That's fucking horseshit.
So
It's horseshit.
let me ask you, Zhang
And
Weili
Rose is done
versus
with
Thug
this-
Rose. More money
Hold on,
than Carla versus Thug Rose?
Yeah, way more money. Way more money. So that's
As
why it
part
happens.
owner of the UFC, Will, give me what's going to make me more money. Let's do it.
The problem, though, is Rose has now had to do this twice.
Yeah.
She goes out there, she knocks out Joanna, and they're like, do it again. She has to beat her again? Why? She knocked out the champ.
I could see where you're coming from. It was in convincing fashion. There was no ands ifs or buts about it. It's not like it was a split decision or anything like that. You know?
Exactly.
It was pretty clear cut.
It's horseshit. And you can argue Joanna was so dominant for so long at the top. That's why she gets the rematch. I'll listen to that argument. Where's that argument for Zhang Weili? It's non-existent. The only reason this fight is even potentially happening is market-based. And that fucking sucks, dude.
Honestly, I think that a closer fight, no, I don't think it was a closer fight, but Jessica Andrade versus Thug Rose was a closer fight. So, all right.
Definitely.
All right. Anything else on that one?
And they're 1-1. No, but I'm heated because Thug Rose is my girl.
All right. Next topic here. News. D-Rod. Our boy D-Rod. Now, how long have we been riding with D-Rod?
Since the beginning.
Since day one. We're day oneers.
Since day one.
I mean,
day oneers.
But D-Rod, it's been announced D-Rod will be stepping in short notice versus Kevin Lee. Dude.
Very excited.
Very exciting. Kevin Lee, okay, first of all, it seemed like Kevin Lee was kind of tiptoeing because as soon as we found out that Kevin Lee needed an opponent, your boy D-Rod went on there, sent out a message saying, hey, I'm down. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Lee was kind of like, hey, man, like, how about this guy
Mike
and
Perry.
this other guy? Yeah. Hey, Perry, come fight me. And D-Rod's like, dude, I'm right here.
Yeah.
And but, hey, this is a great matchup for D-Rod.
Very good matchup. And a decent matchup for Kevin Lee also. I think D-Rod's size is going to be a big problem, though. I think D-Rod's a big welterweight, and Kevin Lee is a big lightweight.
You know, something that D-Rod showed us in his last fight that we hadn't seen before had to have been the sprawl and brawl capability.
Dude, he reminded me of like a more evolved Chuck Liddell.
That's what I'm saying. So Kevin Lee, he was ascending so rapidly. He fought for the interim title.
Yeah.
Right?
Fought
for the interim title with staff. And then since then, it's just been one thing after another. Injuries left and right, losses. You know, going from one training camp to another from who was he fighting with? Firas Zahabi for a while?
Well, his head coach, who was like his mentor in life, unfortunately committed suicide, and it was like a massive deal to Kevin Lee. Like he said, he just lost hope in life. Couldn't find a fit in a gym anywhere. I feel for him, man. That's fucking
for sure.
Off. When you look at someone like Bobby Green, how he talks about how his head coach he calls him dad. You know, like that dude. That relationship is massive. So you lose someone like that, I can't even imagine. I think that's a big reason why we've seen what you just talked about with Kevin Lee and kind of where his career's gone.
Where he's trying to find himself right now, it seems like.
Yeah, it's tough. And I like the guy.
And it's hard for us to say, sitting on this end, not really knowing what he's going through and everything. Speculation, right? But, man, when we take all those things into account, we see the development of D-Rod from the first time we saw him fighting into the UFC till now. He continues improving a lot, and he's extremely active.
Very
extremely active.
And much like Kevin Lee, and I'll always give Kevin Lee props for this, because Kevin Lee doesn't look for easy fights whatsoever. Neither does D-Rod. His last fight was a short notice fight, but he called out Abu Bakar, and no one's calling him out.
Yep,
nobody. So and it shows you that he is very sure of his takedown defense, right? Because that's probably what most people look to him and think that's how you're going to beat him. That, I think, is the avenue that Kevin Lee is going to have to explore to try to beat him. I don't think he can get it done, though. I think D-Rod's too big and too skilled to stop takedowns right now. And if you look at obviously MMA math doesn't work, but if you look at Kevin Lee's win over Gregor Gillespie, which, again, Kevin Lee calling out somebody that nobody wants to fight. He did the same thing with the Bronx. He's super game. When they said that D-Rod was calling this out, I was like, I feel like Kevin's going to take this fight. He's not someone who picks and chooses his opponents and whatever. But he fights Gillespie, gets the highlight reel KO, right? The high kick on the cage was awesome. But leading up to that, they were trading jabs, and they were both cracking each other. And that's Gillespie. And I mean that with no disrespect, but Gillespie's not a striker. He's very much a chain wrestler who is crazy tenacity, all this stuff. But if he can get the better of Kevin Lee with the jab, and it could be because Kevin Lee was worried about the takedown, right? That might be the factor of why he was getting lit up with the jab. But you know who has a way better jab than Gregor Gillespie? D-Rod. D-Rod's jab is insane. So it'll be interesting to see, without the threat of the takedown, if Kevin Lee's going to be eating this jab all night. He might be more aware this is going to be more of a stand-up fight. It's a dangerous fight, though. I think D-Rod's too big.
I'm excited for this fight, though. I'm always excited to watch D-Rod fight him. And quite honestly, I'm always excited to watch Kevin Lee fight, too.
Big fans of both of them.
Yeah, big fans of both of them. But I think – oh, by the way, D-Rod has come out the underdog on this one. If I remember correctly, it's plus 134. So if anybody wants to make some money –
that's a real good pick.
I would definitely jump on that one ASAP.
And it's probably the last time you're going to get that, because if he beats Kevin Lee, people will finally kind of realize. Yeah.
Yep, it's off to the races. So, hey, by the way, D-Rod, if you ever happen to just see this, D-Rod, I'm trying to get you on, dog. Come on.
Yeah.
Hop on the pod.
We've been trying.
All right. Let's see here. HLBK Omer says it's going to be tough for him at 170. Well, yeah, that's a great point, because Kevin Lee, I believe, was 155 for the longest time, right?
Well, that's what I said at the start.
Big weight cut for him.
Yeah, but this is what I was saying at the start. D-Rod is a big welterweight. Kevin Lee fights at welterweight, but he's a big 155er. Kevin Lee, if you remember, was the one outside of Nate and Dustin. He was the most outspoken for a 165 division.
Talk about somebody that'd be perfect for that division.
Yeah, I don't think he's a welterweight, and he's too big for lightweight.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so next news. Yoel Romero medically cleared, fighting Phil Davis here pretty soon. Yeah,
that was crazy when the UFC released him. Everyone was like, "What? Why?" And then Bellator signs him, and everyone's
again,
like,
Scott Coker off to the side, just waiting.
Gimme. But then they do the whole light heavyweight tournament with like all these crazy Rumble Johnson, Phil Davis, Yoel Romero, like all these killers, right? And then all of a sudden they have to pull out. Shout out MMA Kings, Nolan King over here tweeted this one out. But I think people realized why he was released. It wasn't just because his last few fights he was kind of inactive, right? It was, I think the UFC knew there's a lot of medical issues going on with Yoel, with his spine surgery, with the broken eye socket that he had with Robert Whitaker.
Is that where you got the eye from?
Yeah. So it's tough, man. And he's old, man. Like, he doesn't look it as far as his physique goes, but like you can see it now. Like, he's slowing down. Like, people think of him as like a berserker. He has never been a berserker, ever. Also, he has always been a counter striker.
Let's remember he's Cuban. So how old is he?
Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's like, dude, he's what, 43, 44?
38?
No, dude's probably 50. And we just had no clue.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He's going to take on Phil Davis. They announced that he's fighting Phil Davis in the main event in San Jose, and I think that is a very bad move from Bellator's standpoint. I think that is going to be a massive disappointment for a lot of people. I like both the guys. I like Phil Davis. I like Yoel Romero. I don't think that's going to be a good fight. I think that's going to be one of the classic Bellator stories of getting big names in their main event, and the fight just is a non-starter. I just don't see it going well.
Scott Coker, if you're looking for a matchmaker, it's my boy Will. All right.
I live 20 minutes down from San Jose.
Dude, there you go. Easy peasy.
You're here all the time.
Oh man. All right. Anything else on that, sir?
No.
All
Wish
right,
nothing
next
but the
one.
best for both those guys, but I don't. It's going to be a snoozer, I think.
TJ Dillashaw hopes to be back early 2022 to fight for the title.
Yeah, I thought it was going to take longer.
Yeah, I mean, when we were watching the fight and seeing the hyperextension of the knee, and then the fact that he was struggling
swelling
for
man.
4 more rounds, I figured it was going to be something a lot worse.
Yeah.
But luckily, he's talking possibly a 3-month recovery.
Yeah, he said he had 2 tears in his meniscus and his LCL?
MCL?
No, well, I don't remember. But
one of the L's.
One of the L's, but the most importantly, not the ACL.
Yes.
So he said 3-month recovery is when he can start training again, get back in there early 2022. And I think that makes sense timeline-wise with this next UFC 267, Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling.
I think that's the amount of time he would have had to sit out anyway, waiting for this other shit to play out and then for them to recover. So
yeah, the problem is 3 months from now is when he can start training. So there might be a little bit of a catch-up going on. I doubt he's going to want to go straight into a fight camp, right? I don't know, though.
I mean, who knows? It's TJ Dillashaw, man.
Yeah, you get anything, you get some superhuman stuff get mixed into that bloodstream.
Yeah, he starts taking some of that creatine. Yeah. And all of a sudden, dude, recovery is just...
The psoriasis cream that Chad Mendez was taking.
Hey, man. Barry Bonds used to take that too.
Legs. Barry Bonds was the clear.
He was all natty, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, okay.
All right. But, man, just an absolute warrior fighting through all that stuff. Props to TJ Dillashaw there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hey, you know what steroids doesn't give you?
Fight IQ?
The heart of a champion and the ability to dig deep like that.
I like how you did that. That was deep, Will. Almost as deep as his gash on his eyebrow.
Yeah.
Damn, man. All right. Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz, dude.
This came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Anderson Silva versus Logan Paul.
That's what they were talking about. I mean, both could happen, I guess. But, yeah. What's crazy, though, is it's a professional bout.
Yeah, so, hey, props to Mike Copinger or whatever his name is for this tweet. So sources say Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz will be sanctioned boxing match, non-exhibition, with 8 2-minute rounds. Big John McCarthy will be the third man in the ring. I'm almost more excited about that.
Yeah, when this news came out, that's what we texted each other. We're like, that's kind of the bigger story here is Big John's getting back in the ring. I think it sucks because it'll never happen because he's not going to make the money that he's making right now. But I think Big John, sorry, buddy. I really like you as a ref. I think you have not the best takes in MMA, and I think your commentary is bad. It's not good.
We just lost another subscriber, Will. Thanks.
Yeah,
John McCarthy's hitting the unsubscribe button right now.
Yeah. Listen,
way to go.
It's just not everybody can do it. I probably couldn't do it. But it sucks because he is a fantastic ref. And I think the sport is better. I think the sport is significantly better with him in the cage. And it's a bummer because he's not going to get paid what he deserves as a ref. So I don't see him ever returning to it. Outside of this, he's probably making a decent chunk of change for this because it's a fucking freak show fight. But it sucks.
And I love it.
Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz, I'm not going to lie. Very excited. Very excited.
Yeah, you know what? I was excited about Logan Paul versus Anderson Silva. Anytime that I get to see Anderson Silva fight, I feel like I'm excited.
Yeah, it's like nostalgia because you get Anderson Silva not getting drug tested, and it's like
yes.
Also, Mike Copinger, how about you spell check before you tweet, bud? But Anderson Silva, but I think with him not getting drug tested because clearly I don't know if is that fight under Triller?
Probably.
Whoever it is, they're not drug testing. Look at both Paul brothers. You know, it's no secret. They're all on stuff. And in Silva, you watch his last fight, and clearly he's taking shots that he wasn't able to take 6 months prior. So something's going on.
And he looked good, man.
I'm all for it.
He outboxed Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a legit boxer.
Yeah, a former champion.
He's not going up against Ben Askren.
Yeah.
He's not going up against KSI or whatever his name is.
But the beauty of this fight is that Tito is fucking Tito. So I honestly expect, it sucks that this isn't an MMA fight, honestly, but I expect some Matrix level shit from Anderson and some really cool shit from Anderson, because
What if
Tito is a fucking platform for Anderson to style on.
it's 10 rounds, right? Is what they said. What if like the first 5 rounds they
think
come
it was
out
8
as
rounds.
boxing, 8 rounds, okay, and then after like the second half, they throw off the boxing gloves and throw on MMA gloves.
And
They're just like, screw it, Pride style, in the ring.
Yeah. Ooh.
That'd be so sick.
I would
Hey,
love it.
Triller, get on it. All right.
Yeah.
Next news, we have Aspinall versus Pavlovich.
Yeah. Tom Aspinall, man.
These guys, both of them, just look confused. Like I just said something, and they're both like, "What'd you just say?"
Yeah. That
They
picture of
just look very
Pavlovich is
confused.
unfortunate, man. That's so funny. That's the first thing I thought. Big Marcel, shout out Big Marcel. That dude is on all the time with news. But Aspinall, I think, is the future.
Michael Cera, is that who he reminds me of? Like a big buff Michael Cera?
Aspinall?
No, Pavlovich. Look at his face.
Yeah, a little bit. A little
bit. Yeah. No,
if you take away the jaw and the top of the head and you just look at this, I see it.
This is like the college version of Superbad. When they all grow up. This is it. But no, dude, Aspinall, I've said it before and I'll say it again, man. This is the new generation of heavyweights.
Yeah.
Where they're able to move around like light heavyweights and in some cases middleweights, but with the power of a heavyweight.
Mm-hmm. And Aspinall showed us in his last fight that his ground game is nothing to dismiss. Everybody thinks of his with his quick hands, but dude, his ground game is legit. And he even says he thinks his ground game is better than his striking.
Ooh.
Who knows if that's true, right? He might just be saying that so people don't take him down. But but I'm excited.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see him again. I'll always be excited to see him fight, and I can't wait to see him creep to the top and mature in the sport, because he's still real young, right?
I think Pavlovich is 14-1 himself, so he's no slouch.
Yeah. No. So yeah, it's a great fight.
He was a former champion in what organization did I tell you he was in? Some Russian organization.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just remember it was like Diesel Arena that he fought in. I thought
the Diesel Arena. Yeah.
All right. Let me see it's almost 12 o'clock. Well, do you want to do like a rapid fire on these last ones?
Yeah, we don't need to spend a ton of time on the rest of them.
All right, here we go. Ready? Jacare Souza retires. Jacare.
I'm glad.
Hey, so is he. Look at those thumbs up.
Yeah.
Marcelo Ruscio with the tweet.
Yeah.
So, dude,
I'm glad. I don't want to see. I don't want to see him go down the path that we've seen so many times.
I think we already did.
A little bit. It didn't get that bad. He was
Ask his brain cells.
Well, how many times was he knocked out?
Once, really bad.
Yeah, but that's just once. Most people get knocked out. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of guys go down the path and they get finished left and right. And we didn't see that from Jacare.
Dude, the way that he was knocked out against Holland.
Yeah, it was bad.
That might count as like 4 knockouts.
Maybe.
Because it was really bad. So, I mean, his last 4 fights. Andre Munhoz gets his arm broken, right? And then an inverted arm bar. Kevin Holland gets beat back into Brazil with those massive punches from the ground. Jan Blachowicz loses by decision.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Hermanson loses by decision. So
not bad, man. When you look at the end of a lot of fighters' careers, they look much worse.
You're right. You're right.
It was clear that he lost a step, so that kind of adds to like it seeming worse than it was, I think. But the reality is, I don't think he took that much damage, and I think it's smart of him to get out because he can still do jiu-jitsu at a high level, and I think he can make a ton training people and coaching if he wants to do that. I'm not sure, but Jacare is a legend, man. I've always been a huge Jacare fan. I think we've talked about it before that I think outside of Tony Ferguson, he probably has the UFC's been worse to him than pretty much everybody else on the roster. And it sucks to see, but it is what it is, I guess.
So Jacare has 10 losses on his record. You want to guess how many of those losses were due to stoppage?
6?
3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Musasi.
Up kick from Musasi. Let's see here. There's a
Muniz.
head kick by Whitaker.
Oh, I was thinking because Muniz broke his
Oh, you mean
arm.
like submission? No, I meant like
Yeah.
knockouts.
But I think that's the only submission too, Muniz.
Yeah, that's the only one. Everything else is decision loss.
Yeah,
And when you think
and you look at
Jacare,
this.
every time I'd see Jacare, I'm like, dude, as soon as this gets to the ground, it's game over.
Mhm.
And so seeing him get dominated like that by Munhoz recently, I was like, okay, yeah.
I don't think he got dominated. I think he just
got
got
his arms in a couple pieces.
Yeah, but it's not like he was like it wasn't like Oliveira versus Tony Ferguson where it was like multiple rounds of just out grappling. It was a transition that went bad. That's excusable.
Went really bad,
in my opinion. It went really bad, right? But it wasn't like he got like outclassed on the ground. I mean, if they rematch, Jacare beats him, in my opinion.
Ooh. Only one way to find out. Jacare, hold off. Let's do a rematch.
Yeah.
Let's do this. All right. Let's see here. Next topic, real quick. Bare Knuckle FC, David Feldman and Diego Sanchez almost signed.
I think we're on a different one, judging by what Rich just put up.
Did I skip Weidman? Okay, Weidman has second surgery on his leg. Yes.
Sucks to see, man. And maybe just retire.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think you'll ever come back?
Yeah, I do, and I don't think it's the right idea. Because the reason I think he had second surgery, and this is just speculation, he talked about how he was back in the gym and did light sparring.
Oof.
And he was like, yeah, I'm recovering quicker than the timetable they gave me. And I was like, that seems wrong. Maybe don't do that. Maybe just go by their guidelines. It's unfortunate.
Well, there it
that's
is.
his leg now.
For anybody that's just listening in, it's a X-ray shot here of his leg.
Yeah, more metal than
looks
bone.
like Terminator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think
titanium shin bone.
Yeah.
As McGregor says now.
Yeah. It's just take it easy, man. What do you have to prove? There's nothing. You were the champ. You beat Anderson Silva. You were the first to beat him.
I mean, I hope he made
prove
some smart investments with some of his payday.
I think he did.
I hope so, so that he can have that option. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I say we retire right off into the sunset, and hopefully everything's all good, in long term.
Shout out Chris Weidman. Shout out Brian got me this.
Oh, nice, dude. Weidman autograph? What?
There it is.
That's awesome, man. Hey, when are you gonna hang that up though?
When I move.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that was his walkout shirt that he walked out with when he fought Omari Akhmedov.
For sure, don't toss in the washer accidentally though, huh?
I know, yeah.
That would suck. Be like, dude, that used to be an autograph right there. You see that black stain?
Yeah. You see that?
All right. Now for reals, BKFC, David Feldman, and Diego Sanchez almost signed.
Yeah, man. I can't say that I'm not surprised, but why?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
So, again, somebody that has nothing left to prove.
Nothing to prove. Seems kind of shitty, in my opinion. I think this is kind of them taking advantage of somebody, and it sucks to see.
You think so?
I mean, I'm sure Diego wants it, but it's not what's best for him. I mean, it's not their job to protect him from himself, right? But
what if it's Joshua Fabia versus Diego Sanchez?
Well, so if you read this, said, so once we get that through, I think that we can get a contract and get something going. He's talking about the medicals, right? He wants Diego to clear a bunch of medicals. So it'll be great to have a legend, Diego Sanchez, fighting another legend inside the squared circle, which as soon as Diego signs and I can announce the matchup that I have, people are going to be like, what the hell is going on here? So he knows it's a shit show, right? He knows. He's leaning into it. Then he says, I got one that's not on the roster that people are also going to go, what the hell?
What?
Let's see if we get that Joshua Fabia death touch.
And I got another one that's on the roster. People are 100% going to be like, I can't believe this. This doesn't make any sense. Wow. Wow. Well, wasn't done reading that, but I'm sure the rest of it was really interesting. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Richard Casual. Until I got the contract done, I don't want to tease. I hate doing that to you, man, but okay, well, that's all you did is tease. So thank you.
Yeah, but he hates doing it.
As long as we know he hates doing it, then it's all good. Yeah. All right, well, It'll be a shit show, but you know what? Your boy already subscribed, so we're gonna watch it, Will.
Yeah. And speaking of the shit show that is Bare Knuckle FC.
Chad Mendez has
Yeah.
signed with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship as well. So look how happy he looks.
Yeah.
He is happy to have signed that contract.
He's happy to not be under USADA testing.
So Chad Mendez convinced his wife that MMA is much more dangerous than bare knuckle boxing. And then he has that shit-eating grin on his face.
It's so funny.
It's perfect.
Man. He said because in MMA there's knees, there's high kicks, there's elbows, all this crazy shit. Great, man. Keep saying that. You know?
I mean, you got to get the green light from the old lady somehow.
Yeah.
But hopefully she doesn't subscribe to any MMA news because now after seeing that, you're like, hey.
And what's crazy is like it's a weird move in my opinion outside of the drug testing for Chad Mendez, and it starts to make more sense with this little other bit of info. But Chad Mendez, his best weapon is his wrestling. So let's take that away and just box without gloves on and say that's safer. Kind of crazy. But it makes sense now because he said, at first I was like, yeah, of course he's going to go to be bare knuckle. They're not going to drug test and he can just shoot up and go hard, right? Let's do it. And
psoriasis.
Why not?
It's psoriasis cream.
Yeah, it was psoriasis cream. But and I have no qualms with that. I'm totally cool with that. But it makes more sense now because he says, but it was kind of weird that he would go to bare knuckle, right? Because he's not a boxer, right? He's a wrestler who had decent striking. So it's like a weird move. But then you hear that he's still under contract with the UFC and that they're letting him go do this. And that's when it makes sense. Because he's not coming back to the UFC anytime soon, at least, because he looks ridiculous. He's fucking jacked. So
He's always been jacked up.
Yeah, and he tested positive. So he looks even more jacked now.
He's always been jacked with psoriasis, though.
Yeah, exactly. But
skin conditions.
Now it's like, okay, if he's not going to come back, he doesn't want to go somewhere in MMA with drug testing, and he can't go anywhere else because the UFC's not going to let him go to like Bellator or PFL or something like that.
True.
So if the UFC's allowing him to go here, that's when it starts to make more sense because he can still compete, not breach his UFC contract. It's crazy that they're letting him do this, in my opinion. That's nuts. It's kind of unprecedented, right? Has the UFC ever done that?
I don't know, but I think Dana has a soft spot for people that were company men or women, in the past, and I think Chad always was that. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, I mean he took the fight on short notice with Conor, and it was massive for them. So,
and you know what, Dana might know if I have you come back right now, you might test hot. You might piss hot. So go do your thing over there. Come back when you're clean. But also, Chad, I think he's just getting the itch to compete because from what I hear, his Fins and Feathers company's doing really well right now.
What's that? Is that like a bow hunting thing?
It's like it's a bunch of like hunting and fishing and shit. Yeah, stuff that he sells. But
he doesn't need the money, I don't think.
Yeah. All right. Well,
like
last
Chad
couple
Mendez.
things.
Kind of ragging on him a little bit with the steroids, but I like him.
Yeah, I like him too. I love Chad Mendez.
Yeah.
Old school Team Alpha Male.
I was really bummed when he retired.
Pedro Munhoz considering dropping to 125.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect that.
This from Danny Segura, not to be confused with Tom Segura. Just caught up with Pedro Munhoz. He's flirting with the idea of dropping down to 125 pounds. He says he can get as low as 145 in the mornings while healthy, but not on an extreme diet. Munhoz is waiting to see what's next, but definitely considering it.
Interesting.
I don't think it's a bad move.
If he can do it in a healthy way, which it sounds like he can, if he gets a real strict diet, he can get even lower, right? I think it's a good move, and I think that division is I think people are realizing that it's really good. And if we get Cody Garbrandt and Pedro Munhoz both in that division,
dude, we're talking one of the most stacked divisions.
Dude, it's so I see people online still shit about flyweight. Dude, you can't anymore. It's so good.
I think when you see like a Matt Schnell at number 9, you're like, okay, but
but you don't have if you disregard the rankings and you look at the talent that's in there and the potential matchups, dude. Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo, Askar Askarov, Pantoja, Alex Behez, Benavidez still in there, Brandon Royval, Kai Kara France, Bontarin, Tim Elliott,
like
Manel Cap, Sumadarji. Sumidarji, bro. Come on. Amir Albazi, and now Cody Garbrandt. And
Cyril Gahn. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong list. No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? Dude,
I know.
like that Russian thing where it was 3-on-1? Give me Cyril Gahn versus Davison Figueiredo, Alex Perez, and Brandon Royval.
Oh,
Who wins?
Yeah, Cyril Gahn. He just throws one body kick and takes them all out.
And it's game all at once?
Yeah, he just sweeps them all out.
All right, last but not least, HLBK Omer brought this up earlier, but we do have a big pay-per-view event coming up here pretty soon. Mm-hmm. It's going to be Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know what else was happening on that card, but
nobody needs to know what else is happening on that card. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what's done boxing in lately. But yeah, it's coming up, right? When is it? It's August 28th?
End of the month. I don't remember exactly.
29th?
You know what? It's August 29th, and I know that because I'm looking at his hit list right now, Will, that he wrote on his whiteboard next to his pool, because everybody should have a whiteboard next to their pool. You
know what I'm more excited, if I'm being honest, is on the same card, Tommy Fury's fighting Anthony Taylor. It's his U.S. debut. So
I like that.
Tommy Fury's an actual boxer, you know?
Yep.
He's legit.
Also known to some as Timmy Fury, apparently.
Yeah.
So let me just read off his hit list to you real quick, Will. Mm-hmm. First on his hit list was GIB, CIB. I don't know who that is, but he has him crossed off. Nate Robinson, crossed off. Ben Askren, crossed off. Next on there, Tyron Woodley. They're fighting August 29th. Mm-hmm. Then this is where it starts getting a little crazy, okay? Wants to fight Canelo.
Okay.
Nate or Nick Diaz.
Uh-huh.
Kamaru Usman.
Order. Yeah.
Timmy Fury. Conor McGregor. KSI. Gervonta Davis. And Logan Paul, question mark?
Is there a question mark on it?
There is a question mark on it.
The guy knows what he's doing, right? Because it makes no sense. Like, even if you put all those names, like, they're in the wrong order, clearly.
Wait, isn't KSI a YouTuber too?
Yes, I think that's who Logan fought.
Yeah, it can't be in order then, because if I'm him, I don't want to go like Canelo, and then at the end like KSI.
Yeah, it's just money-wise, it's not going to make sense for like views and shit. But yeah, the Tyron fight is going to be interesting. I think it's another really good call-out by Paul. I think people are going to look at Tyron Woodley's knockouts in MMA and think this is an easy win for Tyron Woodley. I don't think it is.
Nope.
I think Tyron Woodley will win, but I will be far from surprised.
Hey, I just saw one of Rich's comments right now, and I'm sorry I read this late, Rich, but he said, "Guy on the right looks like Michael Cera from Superbad." Pavlovich.
Pavlovich. Yeah.
Great minds think alike, Rich.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. Awesome. All right, but it seems like that's all the news that we have for this week, Will. I'm sure there's more that we missed, but
there's so much news all the time in MMA. You know, it's just constant. Yeah, nothing else has really come out.
All right,
but yeah, next UFC event is next weekend. Who we got?
I believe that's going to be
Cannonier Gastelum.
Yep,
that's great.
Should be a fun fight, man. I always enjoy watching Calvin Gastelum. Man. I've been a Calvin Gastelum fan since Tough. When he beat Uriah Hall. So
yeah. HLV Comer, Tyron is getting knocked out. Who are we kidding?
All he has is his right overhand, and that just won't be enough, he says. And dude, that's what I'm saying. People think that it's going to be an easy fight for Tyron. It's not.
Especially when you consider that Tyron's primarily a wrestler, and he's talked about having really bad arthritis in his hands. His hands hurt fighting. So yeah, let's go to boxing.
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing, man? And it's
going to be a big payday for him. It's going to be a big payday for him.
Yeah,
so good for him.
Definitely.
Get your money.
Get your money. But yeah, next week, same time, Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific. We'll cover the card. Jared Cannonier, Kelvin Gastelum, Clay Guida versus Marco Madsen, Chase Sherman, Parker Porter, Austin Hubbard versus Vince from Hell Pichel, Alexander Pantoja versus Brandon Royval. It's a great card.
Yeah, dude, Royval's so much fun.
Yeah, so much fun.
All right. Well, got anything else, Will?
Like, subscribe, do all that shit.
Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, goes a long way. Hit the notification bell for us, please, so that way you can be notified whenever we have a live show going on, whenever we have any fight companions, which were an absolute blast last time we did those. But yeah, we greatly appreciate it.
Go back and watch fighter interviews. They're fun.
Those were a lot of fun. So again, my name is Romero. That's my boy Will. Thanks for listening to another week. Story of the Fight.